Okay, good evening everyone. Apologies for the slight delay in starting. Welcome to the meeting of the Planning and Transportation Committee. As with before, this meeting will be held under the regulations allowing local authorities to meet formally using remote technology. It is being streamed live and is available to view on our website. It is important that everyone participating in the meeting to keep your microphones on mute when you are not speaking to reduce the disruption from background noise. Throughout the meeting, councillors should please have the chat window open, and then if you obviously wish to speak, please indicate in the window so that I and the others who are monitoring can make sure you are called. When your name is called to speak, you will need to unmute your microphone and then just briefly wait for the red box with the word live to appear around your screen, and then please ensure that you speak clearly. Most decisions this evening will be made by general assent of those present. However, if a vote is required, each councillor's name will be read out by the Assistant Town Clerk, and you'll be asked to state whether you are for, you are against, or whether you are abstaining. If at any time the Town Council's technology fails and we need to adjourn the meeting for a short period, I will confirm this and ask all those present to turn their cameras off and mute their microphones while the problem is rectified. I will then confirm when the meeting resumes. Obviously, we can only monitor the technology at our end, and we cannot halt the meeting if a member of the press or public experiences technology issues. I will now ask the Assistant Town Clerk to carry out a roll call of all councillors and ask you to confirm that you are present. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. And good evening. Councillors, if you could just answer your names, please. Councillor Buckland.
Present.
Councillor Chase.
Present.
Councillor Long.
Present.
Councillor Rhodes, I don't believe is with us this evening. Councillor Tandy.
Present.
And Councillor Turner.
Present.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And then as we move into the main items on the agenda, so agenda item 1 is mobile phones. So please, as always, members, switch your mobile devices to silent for the duration of the meeting. And then item 2 is apologies. The Assistant Town Clerk will just note if there are any apologies.
There are none, Chair.
Thank you very much. Item 3 is the declarations of interest. So the standing declarations listed on page 2 of the agenda are noted. Members are reminded if they need to make any other declarations to either make them now or on the item as they become apparent. Are there any declarations to make now? I will take that as a no. So if members need to declare, they should just let us know. Item 4 is the minutes. The minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of July have been circulated in the agenda pack. They are on pages 4 to 11. Can I ask if everyone is happy for me to, or for them to be approved? And then if you are, arrangements will be made for me to sign them formally at a later time.
Yeah,
that will be noted in a minute.
Yes, agreed.
Thank you. I will sign those at the next available opportunity. Item 5 is the Chair's report and urgent items. I have nothing to report, and the Assistant Town Clerk will confirm that there are no urgent items, I believe.
There are none, Chair.
Fabulous. Item 6 is the public forum. So in accordance with the remote meetings protocol, which has been introduced by the Town Council, any members of the public wishing to address the Council or any of its committees during a remote meeting should have emailed their submission to us one clear day before the meeting, and I can confirm we have one representation, which is in regards to planning application LU 18120HH, which relates to 12 Reef Close, and I will just read it out. So it is from Mr. Smithers and Ms. Cooper, and it reads: we are objecting on grounds of loss of privacy, overlooking, loss of natural light, visual impact, design and material, and a possible contravention of prevailing covenant. From the perspective of the Parish Council, though, we would urge you to consider the appearance and materials, and that, in our opinion, the proposal is out of character for the area. These houses are clearly visible from the promenade. We often hear people saying how appealing they look. The proposed development at number 12 effectively puts a large white UPVC conservatory at number 12, on top of the existing balcony, as well as the immediate concern. We worry that if approved, a precedent will be set and the whole visual appearance of the area will be spoiled. The plans also include proposals to build out at the front of the property so that the front wall, instead of being staggered with porchway and garage as all properties in the road are now, will be a continuous wall in line with the very front of the existing porch. Once again, we feel this is entirely out of character for the area. We'd be most grateful if you could put our concerns to the meeting on the 17th of August. Thank you. This representation and the information supplied has been circulated to members and noted for consideration, and we will consider it when we come to it on the agenda. Item 7 is a pre-application informative presentation. So before we begin this, I will just briefly remind members that this is purely a presentation. It is not a full planning application. It is about a possible forthcoming planning application, and therefore that should a formal planning application come forward, it will come to the committee in the usual way, and therefore members should ensure that they do not predetermine themselves. Taking into account the papers that are before you at that meeting is what you will need to do. So we have allocated a period of 15 minutes for the presentation, and then for councillors to ask any questions they have about the proposals in the usual way. And in which case I will now introduce, I believe we have Carl Gulland from John Pardee Architects, who is to present for the development of 57 River Road. And I'll hand over to Carl now.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Tandy. And apologies that Jane Wood hasn't been able to join us. I know she'll be very disappointed that she's not had a chance to talk to you and present the scheme. But as you know, Jane has been heavily involved in the life of Littlehampton for many years now, and I'm going to just start sharing the screen with the presentation that we prepared. This presentation is on for a scheme that we're preparing for a planning application at 57 River Road. Hopefully you can all see on your screen the first slide in the presentation. On the left-hand side of the screen is 47 River Road, which we developed with Jane Wood, John Pardee Architects developed with Jane Wood a good number of years ago now, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with both the scheme and the site that we're looking at now, 57 River Road. Jane was also going to be joined by her brother-in-law and business partner Geoffrey, who, as well as being involved in the scheme, is also a built heritage expert and has been taking a keen interest in the project. Sadly, neither of them are able to join, but hopefully I can answer any questions and also present the scheme to you. So just moving through, the first slide was Jane was going to talk to, and I've just pulled together some of the projects that she's been involved with over a good number of years in Littlehampton, and Jane has a great passion for Littlehampton and a great passion for seeing it thrive, seeing it regenerate, bringing business and bringing life to the town. As I say, we developed 47 River Road with Jane quite a few years ago. We're based down in Lymington along the coast, and have a lot of experience of residential architecture in coastal locations. We've a lot of experience in dealing with flooding issues, with materiality, but also key to us is appropriate design for coastal locations, picking up on themes and evoking qualities of the environments that we find ourselves with the privilege of designing in, and obviously also making sure that the buildings provide their users with exceptional places to live or work or eat. So the site in Littlehampton is a really special one to us, and we're really pleased that we're looking at the next phase of it with Jane. The site is, as you know, part of the working riverfront of the Arun. On the east side, it's very much still a working environment. On the west side, most of it has now become the old warehouses have been removed and been replaced with residential. But if we go back to this map from 1896, this Ordnance Survey map from 1896, it shows the river scene was quite different, very open with a few warehouses and wharf side buildings and yards for boats to deliver. This was
Sorry
before
to
the...
interrupt you, Carl. I just want to say that we have now got Jane in the meeting as well.
Okay. I don't know whether Jane wants to chip in now. Maybe right at the end, Jane. I'll carry on and then let you conclude, if that's okay. So yes, the river frontage was quite different in 1896. This photo in 1904, already the east side of the river is starting to be filled up with larger sheds and boat building and warehouses, and obviously the old floating bridge. And then this map in 1932 shows how much of that west side of the river had been filled in as well. And at that stage, the swing bridge was in place, which has now obviously been replaced by the pedestrian bridge, and the telescopic pedestrian bridge. This is looking back at the west side, and if you just note that tree on the top left-hand corner, this photo is taken in 1952 when the west side was still a working riverfront. This is earlier this year, and the tree is still there, but all the warehouses have gone and been replaced by 3- and 4-storey residential dwellings, and that is now very much the character of the west side of the Arun. So to our site, which the site we're looking at, 57 River Road, one of the well, I think it's probably the only remaining warehouse building on this side of the river. Its river elevation at some point collapsed or was removed and has been replaced by a corrugated iron facade. This photo is taken a good few years ago, shortly after we completed 47 River Road and before the river wall works had been done. Those are now, as you all know, complete along that stretch of the Arun. And then the building itself, from other angles, as I say, it's a stubborn and resilient building, but pretty decrepit and very difficult to work with in its and keep completely. But we love its charm, and as you'll know from 47 River Road, we've taken care to keep the charm of those ad hoc warehouse structures that lined that part of the river, albeit that we've only kept the facade. So this is 47 River Road. May not be a photo that you're familiar with, but our concept with this site was to layer, keep the facade of the riverside buildings and layer back with other buildings which had with another building which had a resonance with that kind of working, gritty situation. So just moving on to a sketch of our proposal. On the right hand of your screen, you'll see 47 River Road, and our proposal is to again retain the facade of the wharf building at 57 River Road, and again build behind that, replacing the warehouse with which is currently an automobile repair workshop that a tenant of Jane's, and replace that with 6 apartments. And we've been discussing this proposal with Aaron and Anita Gardner and Martin White for a number of years, and had a look at a number of schemes, but working together we believe that we've arrived at a scheme that is acceptable and indeed welcomed by Anita and Martin as an appropriate response and an appropriate scale and appropriate architecture for the site. One of the key factors that both Martin and Anita flagged up was that the site is one of the few gaps in the river elevation along River Road, and so we've been keen to try and keep a sense of openness through the site by creating 2 buildings which are bridged by a very glazed stair core that gives access to the apartments, and also making sure that we're stepping the building away from our neighbours, our neighbour to the left, and making various measures in the building form to stepping the building form to try and reduce the massing of the building, all in close dialogue with Anita and Martin to try and get to a point that they were happy, and get to a point that Jane was happy she could make commercial sense of the site. And then the view from the river. So the river wall is now 1.5 metres above the ground level, which means that even with that transparency, there's no direct views of the water, but there is a sense of the activity along the river, so both from the roadside and from the riverside, we wanted to break down the massing of the building by separating it into 2 blocks of 3 apartments. That the block on the left being a brick building, and the block on the right, raised above the parking for the development, is intended to be a lighter weight building, probably clad in metal, and again affording the new residents of the scheme really fantastic views up and down the river, and a real sense of being part of that river situation, and looking across to the east side of the river and the activity going on there. So just running through the plans quickly. Ground floor, retaining the retaining the facade of the wharf building, and building immediately behind that, and then also retaining the boundary wall, and putting a new gate in, and a more transparent gate than currently. So again, trying to increase a sense of views through, and then adding a new pedestrian route through the wall to the front door of the building. Moving up, again, 2 apartments, 2 3-bed apartments on first floor, separated by half a level, and then above that, you'll see the plan is starting to step in as we try and respect the neighbours in terms of both daylight, but also just a sense of overbearing, making sure that we're trying to be respectful, and then a 2-bed apartment, and the blue line on the screen indicates an earlier version of the scheme, and this is to demonstrate the dialogue that we've been having with Martin and Anita, and how we've moved the scheme to try and arrive at a position that they were comfortable that was appropriate for the streetscape and respectful of the neighbouring residents. And then finally the roof plan. So this is a diagram just illustrating that, as I said, a brick building that is sits on the ground behind the elevation of the warehouse building. The glazed link that we will work hard to make as transparent as possible to try and give that, well, allow light to pass through, but also to give a sense of the river beyond. And then a metal clad building, a roofscape that is hopefully quite fun, but also evocative of the roofscape along the riverfront, and making sure that we're doing the practical things correctly, making sure we're getting enough parking in to serve the development, making sure that we've got space for bins and bikes and all the stuff that you need to get right at day one, because it's hard to sort it out afterwards. So these are some CAD drawings of the scheme, which illustrate that. We're preparing reports and bringing together the scheme ready for an application, hopefully in the next few weeks. And these drawings aren't yet finished, but hopefully give a flavour of what we're looking to do, and hopefully demonstrate the way that we're working with the existing context in terms of scale and in terms of picking up on themes in terms of the gable-ended roofs and the elevation of the old warehouse buildings that we have the privilege of building behind. So that's the final slide, which returns to the one that you've had previously, and it may be that Jane wants to chip in at this moment with some further thoughts.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Mrs. Wood, you're live if you would like to address the committee.
I'm a bit of a nervous wreck. Please excuse me, because as you know, I couldn't get on last month, and now I'm a shaking mess. But just to say, some of the councillors probably know me because I've done East Beach Cafe and I've done 47 River Road. And the history of this is that my architect-trained husband cycled past the site many years ago and said, "Jane, you should do something with that site because it's the last piece of East Bank marine history. The rest has been demolished." And I have a great interest in helping Littlehampton move forward architecturally and design-wise. And I hope that by the small developments that I achieve, that we will get somewhere, which is award-winning, which I've done with East Beach Cafe and with The Bench and with 47 River Road, and I hope that we can do this with 57 River Road. Had I been able to save the original buildings, I certainly would have done that. I live in a Grade 2 listed house in South Terrace, and I'm very interested in conservation, preserving the past, but moving forward and creating modern buildings which enhanced in the environment. So this building that we hope to get planning for will just complete that little bit of the marine history that the East Bank has. I've got a conservation colleague who's sitting with me because he's an expert in preserving the past. So if people want to ask about, have any questions about the conservation area, we're very happy to answer them. If people want to ask me about anything more about the building or the site, I've had a marketing report and I've had a surveyor's report on the building, and sadly the amount of money that's needed to restore it, because it's in a very poor state of repair, would not make it economically viable. I could let the car park as a builder's yard or a caravan trailer park, but I don't think that's a very good thing to do for River Road. There is, sadly, the building has just never been repaired, or no work has ever been done to it, just like next door. So I hope that we can get planning for this scheme.
Thank you, Mrs. Wood. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. OK, I will open it up. So there is some time for questions. I would just reiterate what I said before about this being pre-application. So I would remind members not to predetermine themselves either way. But if any member has a question or would like to ask something or seek more information, they are free to request to speak in the usual way. Councillor Turner wishes to speak first, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Mrs. Wood, and good evening, Mr. Gillard. Can I ask about the cladding that's you're suggesting? I think you're saying it's going to be metal.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Yes, so well, we've conceived of these two different buildings as effectively as siblings. One being a brick building, and the other, the raised one, being clad in something lighter weight, because it's a lot. The idea that it's raised up on columns, it feels like a lighter weight building. We haven't definitively decided whether it would be metal, but there is so brick for one of the buildings and a lighter weight cladding for the other. Metal is a good, the right specification of metal is a good material in a marine environment, and although we might have liked to have used, as we used on 47 River Road, cedar cladding, unfortunately post Grenville timber cladding is really difficult to use, even though we know that it can be detailed very safely. So we looked at another material, and we actually quite liked the corrugated metal of the existing wharf building. It felt in character with some of the sheds on the other side of the river. So we're trying to find something that is evocative but done detailed crisply and beautifully, so that it feels a sort of elegant cousin of the industrial and working riverside.
Thank you. I was going to ask about wood and why you hadn't used wood, but you've just explained that as a consequence of the Grenfell building. I was wondering then, therefore, about the plastic type look-alike to wood, whether that would be an alternative.
It would be an alternative. We tend to, as a practice, steer clear of it for a number of reasons. Environmentally, it tends to be based as cementitious-based material, and there's something that jars in terms of it trying to look like one thing but be another. So we avoid it where we can. And we recognise that some of the buildings along the riverside have been clad with it. I mean, I guess one of the issues is that it retains its sort of, which you could argue is desirable, but it always looks new because it is a material that is impermeable and doesn't weather, although it actually does pick up algae and so on. We tend to like working with natural materials like brick, from clay and metal, because although they look very crisp, they retain a sort of dignity and they gain a patina which feels appropriate, and that's why we tend to steer away from the plastic wood type of materials. But we haven't discounted anything at the moment, but and in discussion with Anita and Martin, they have been quite supportive of the materiality that we're looking at currently.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then Councillor Buckland.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm live. Are we live it? Yeah, there we are now. Okay, thanks, Chair. Just would like to have clarification, please, on a couple of things, and that is, firstly, is the entrance going to be the same as number 47, as in, are you having the sliding gates? Car parking, how many do you intend on having? Because as we all know, most premises, or most people that live in these places now, have at least 2 cars. And if you're supplying cycling storage as well as obviously bin storage, etc. So that's because obviously River Road, even though Mrs. Wood said she didn't want to actually rent out the ground for parking, it would actually been probably very much appreciated due to the issues of parking down River Road. But I totally understand where Jane's coming from. She's a business lady and obviously has done very well for Littlehampton. So they're my main issues. The car parking, how many are you providing? And are you providing up to at least 2 per premises? Cycling storage, and is the entrance going to be similar or the same to the existing at number 47? Thank you.
Okay, hopefully you can see the slide of the ground floor plan. So we've got 6 apartments that we're proposing, and we're proposing, in discussion with Aaron, 8 parking spaces, which in their view, because it's a town centre, obviously very close to the town centre, they believe that's an appropriate level of parking, and all the parking bays would be provided with electric charging points, which is obviously where we're all being pushed to go in terms of how we motor. The plan also shows a location for bins and bikes, and as I said when I was presenting, we take those issues as very important from day one, because we know if we don't get those right, you end up with developments that fail because you end up with people not able to, bins on the road and people not happy about what they are provided with. In terms of the gate, it's hopefully reasonably clear. We've got the existing boundary wall has offset gate posts, and the current gate is directly between the 2. The new proposed gate is a folding motorised gate, so not quite the same as we've got at 47 River Road, and as I mentioned, there is a separate pedestrian entrance point next to the stair core. And just finally back on parking, obviously there will be people who won't buy an apartment in this scheme because they don't have 2 parking spaces. Equally, there will be people who are happy to buy an apartment or rent an apartment in this location because they don't need 2 parking spaces and but want a wonderful riverside apartment. So there are 1 parking space per apartment plus 2 additional parking spaces, and how those get divvied up, whether they're retained as visitors spaces for guests and you on a sort of booking basis, or whether they're allocated to specific flats is yet to be decided. But again, as I mentioned, this has been discussed with Aaron just to check that we weren't exceeding or weren't under providing in terms of parking.
Thank you for that. Can I just quickly come back on one thing, Freddie, please? A question I haven't answered. Thank you. Right. The other one thing being is in number 47, I believe in the development, you actually installed non-return valves in the walls just in case of ground flooding. And is that actually going to happen in this new development as well? Just to be on the safe side. Thank you.
By non-return valves, you mean for the foul drainage, so you don't get, is that what you're referring to, sir?
No, there was an issue, if I remember rightly, going back to when the original development was installed into 47. There was going to be where the flooding was concerned in the area. If your development flooded, there was actually a way of removing said water from the car park.
Yes,
yeah. Is that going to be the same in this current, in the new development you're proposing?
That's correct. Yeah, we've got the same engineers developing a flood risk assessment and strategy, which will then obviously need to be discussed and agreed with the Environment Agency. So assuming that the Environment Agency has the same strategy, and that is still current, we would be looking to do something similar, or if they changed the strategy, which they do from time to time, we would be following the best practice in terms of what they're looking to do. And as I say, all the apartments are raised 1.5 meters above the effectively at the same level as the river wall, so that they meet the Environment Agency's requirements for residential properties in the area, which again is one of the problems with retaining the existing building, is that it would flood, and so it's not desirable as a commercial property from that point of view as well, unfortunately.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councillor Long next.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your presentation, Carl, and to Jane, of course. Ian has already touched on questions I was going to ask, and that is about the car parking. I have to say, 8 spaces for 6 apartments doesn't sound an awful lot. Also, in terms of the bin storage, it might sound pernickety, but are these going to be individual bins for each apartment? Because if they are, there's going to be 12 for rubbish, plus the ones for recycling. And are people going to be expected to put them outside of the gates on the relevant day for collection? If they are, then that will possibly block the footpath going past, things like this. Thank you.
Okay, so again, following the guidance that Aaron provides, we've provided the 2 grey boxes. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but near the bottom left hand of the parking area are, I think there are 1,100 litre Euro bins. So the one for recycling and one for refuse, for general waste, and those would be where residents place their bin bags, and in discussion with your refuse provider collectors, they would have access to the parking lot to be able to take those out to the street side on collection days and load them into the lorries that way.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I have no other requests to speak, so I'll just pause briefly in case anyone else is desperately typing to request. And if not, we will bring the presentation to a close. We will thank you both for joining us and for a very helpful and informative presentation. And we will look forward to the full application coming through when we will consider it.
Thank you for letting us join your meeting, and thank you for letting us join your meeting. And I hope we've answered the ones we wanted. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we will proceed back to the agendas. The next item is item 8. 8.1, the planning applications, lists 30 to 33. So just to remind members that if they wish to speak or they want to ask a question, they need to use the chat box and then wait for the word live to appear. And if your comments relate to a particular document from the planning portal, if members could just make sure that it is clearly stated so that it can be found and displayed on the screen. I will hand over to the Assistant Town Clerk, who will take us through.
Thank you, Chair. Starting on your agenda with list number 30, the first application there is 12 Reef Close. We heard representations earlier. The proposal is for a single storey side and front extension, converting a garage to habitable use with alterations to the fenestration. Emily's just brought up the plans there, and that's for consideration, Chair. Open it up to questions.
Thank you. And so this is the application to which the public representation was made earlier, and I will open it up to comment and views. Of which there doesn't appear to be any. So unless anyone wishes to speak, Councillor Turner.
Sorry, I was letting Jill get in there first.
I think Councillor Long's question is from the presentation.
Oh, right. I'm not very sure about this because the bit that's going to take round the front seems to me to stick out more than the rest of the properties in that street. And it just seems wrong to me. It doesn't seem right, if that makes sense to people. Apart from the fact I don't like the idea of a plastic PVC conservatory on top of a garage.
Okay, thank you.
So I wouldn't be very happy about it.
Okay, and then Councillor Buckland.
Thank you, Chair. What can I say? I'm looking at the drawings now, and the top left-hand corner picture looks like it's floating in mid-air, where the 3 windows are concerned. It looks a bit, dare I say, a monstrosity within a local area, and I just think it's overdevelopment, out of keeping with the local area. You know, and if they want such a thing, I think they need to go back to the drawing board, in my personal opinion. I don't like it. Like I say, I think it's overdevelopment, and totally out of keeping with the area, Chairman. So that's my take on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll take that as a suggestion of an objection, I suspect. Anyone else? We have a proposal from Councillor Buckland, which unless I misunderstood, I think was an objection on the grounds of overdevelopment and being out of character. So
yes,
we will.
Chairman.
Thank,
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you. So that's proposed and seconded, and then Councillor Long wishes to speak.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I think I agree with my colleagues on this one. It is a a large amount of development. I'm not saying that that house doesn't need it. Looking on, excuse me, on Google Earth, it will be an improvement, but sort of an improvement that's a step too far, perhaps. So I think, yes, it will be overdevelopment. I am concerned about the overlooking aspects. I know from one point of view it overlooks the greensward towards the prom, but taking into account neighbours' comments as well. Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think I think we're moving towards general assent. So we have a proposal of an objection on the grounds of it's, I suspect, a combination of overdevelopment and it is out of character with the neighbouring properties.
I think materials as well, please, Freddie.
Thank you. So we can pop materials in there. So I think Juliet's making notes. So is that, and no one else is indicating to speak. So can I take the objection on those grounds of scale, out of character of the area, and materials out of character as general assent of the meeting, please?
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Agreed, Chairman. Agreed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. That objection's noted. Moving on to the next application then, which is reference number LU 18220HH. This is at 11 Genoa Close. And the proposal there is to create a first floor and two-storey rear extension. Quite a significant development there, which will extend the upper part of the house above the kitchen. And they plan to just integrate the ground floor kitchen and dining room and increase the bedrooms in the upper floors from 3 to 4. Plans are on the screen, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I should have said there is one neighbour objection there as well.
Yes. So the neighbourhood objection is on the screen for members to see. I will open it up for debate. For what it is worth, my view is the objection on the screen is I would not be inclined to support it on account from my looking at it that the property in question from the objection is quite considerably far away, but that is my view. Councillor Turner.
I agree with you, Freddie. I looked at that and I had to really read back as to who was putting through the objection, because they seemed to be quite far away, and how could that extension cause any overshadowing on them. And I can't see it, to be honest. I can't see how it can possibly overshadow there or prevent sunlight getting through. So I actually didn't see anything to object to on this at all.
Thank you very much. And then Councillor Long.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, it is quite a big development, but it's within the the existing footprint of the building. There don't seem to be a lot of windows to the rear of it, and it gives them an extra bedroom, but it also enables them to enlarge the existing bedrooms. It does seem like quite a lot of work, but if they can manage it, then that's fine. I too couldn't find any particular reason to object to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There is no one else wishing, or at the moment wishing to speak, so I'm taking a no objection as the general assent. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yes, agreed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. That's noted. Moving on to the next application. That's reference LU 16920. This is a certificate of lawful development for a proposed change of use, and this is to a detached garage on the premises at 25 Oakcroft Gardens, which the applicants wish to change to use as a hair and beauty salon. A large corner plot at the end of the cul-de-sac there. There's not a lot of detail in the application, as not a lot is proposed to change other than the use of the premises. It does state on the application that if approved, they would look to operate for 4 days a week during the hours of 9 till 4 p.m. Open up to questions, Chair.
Thank you, and straight to Councillor Buckland.
Thank you, Chairman. All I'm going to say is, obviously, in my time, been a few years now, in reference to planning and transportation, I've seen a few of these come to our table, and that I don't have a problem or an issue with a change of use. However, what I will say, Chairman, is I'm surprised that the environmental health haven't put in any type of statement, because every other premises that has had quote unquote a change of use to become either a hair salon or a beauty salon has had an input from environmental health for, I know it sounds maybe pedantic, but for acoustic, you know, hair dryers and all that sort of carry on, etc., etc., which to me and to most of us would probably be the fact of no louder than someone using a electric drill. But there are these issues and things like that that I believe that they will need to have addressed. There is also the case of on the issues of parking, because there will be obviously a situation of extra footfall coming into such an area, and that, so that would be one, is the environmental health side of it, and secondly would be, where are they expecting to put the, you know, possible extra cars or whatever the case may be, for obviously visiting clients. So they're the two areas that I have concerns over. Overall, like I say, I don't have an issue with these things, but I think we need more clarity on such things before that we can agree to this application. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much. And then Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure whether the fact that I live in Oakcroft Gardens affects this, because it's quite considerable distance away from us. It's in a cul-de-sac that's quite round the corner from us, so it has no impact on us at all. But I do have a couple of comments. Can you confirm it's okay for me to make the comments, Juliet?
Yeah, that's fine. Personal interest, we'll note, but that's okay. It. Yeah.
My first point is that I can't see any windows or ventilation indicated on the plan, and that would come under environmental health, I would imagine, that Councillor Buckland was just talking about, and I agree with him entirely about it, that it really needs to be looked at. It looks like on the south elevation there's windows, but there's none down the side, and I'm not sure what ventilation they're talking about inside. Oh no, that's existing.
It is.
Yeah, the proposed means that shows that the window's not there, so that there won't be any ventilation except for the door. So I'm a bit concerned about ventilation on a hairdresser. A hairdryer going on a regular basis can be very irritating. If it was going from 9 till 4 days a week, it would be, if it wasn't soundproofed. So I would agree with Councillor Buckland about that environmental health need to confirm that everything would be okay before I gave agreement to this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then Councillor Long.
Thank you, Chair. I share my colleagues' concerns. I'd really want to know a bit more about how many people will be working there. Is it just going to be the one person? And how many customers is she going to have during the day? It says services will be hair and beauty. Well, I'm never really sure what beauty means. Is it going to be a nail salon as well as a hair salon? I don't know. But I would have concerns about the storage of potentially dangerous chemicals if it's nail salons as well, and what the fire regulations would have to say about that sort of thing. I think that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then Councillor Chase.
Yeah, I just agree with everything everyone else has said, and basically there's just not enough information, and it's...
Sorry, Councillor Chase, can I get you to turn your camera on, please?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, here now. Yeah, it's just, I wouldn't say it's misleading, but there's just not enough information, and what everyone said is totally correct. So I find it very hard to make an informed decision apart from a negative one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the only formal way to request more information, and I'll ask Juliet for more on this, is, I believe, to object.
Yeah, I'm getting the sense that the general concern from the committee is that they are concerned about the adverse impact of that type of activity there. And to name some of the points that members have raised, parking provision for clients, but more generally the nature of the operation, how it's going to work, concerns about ventilation, chemicals, and windows, etc. So adverse impact.
Yeah, members are free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard in most people saying that they weren't objecting to the principle, they would like more information. Is that a fair summary?
I would say so, Chairman. That's my point. Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
My
I
view as well.
think so.
I agree. Maybe a report from Environmental Health would be useful.
I don't think we have the power to request a report, but I think if we could put in certainly to you that we would be willing to, like, we don't object to the principle, but just more information would help.
Yeah.
I think is the way forward. Is that
Look at it
acceptable?
again with more information.
Yeah, yeah. If we put the usual proviso that we'd be happy to reconsider if we get. Is that acceptable to the committee?
Agreed.
Agreed, Chairman.
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you very much.
Agreed, Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. So it's concerns regarding adverse impact, but not opposed to the principle of the change of use, but and you would consider or reconsider your decision with more information. Sorry.
Perfect.
Thank you. The next on the list then, members, is reference LU 19020, which is at the Winter Knoll number 15, and that's a proposal for a front porch extension to include a new cloakroom. There's no comments on the website as yet.
Thank you very much. So opening it up to debate, if anyone wishes to speak. Councillor Turner.
I'd like to say thanks, Chair. I can't read the dimensions, so I can't see what size they are talking about. So the plans aren't, clear enough for me. I tried expanding it. Maybe it's my eyesight's not good enough, but I thought it stuck out rather nastily.
It's 1.8 metres.
Yes, but it's not clear as to how much it sticks out. Oh yeah, it looks like it's maybe 9. Is that 900?
I would say it's probably about that. Yes, Councillor, because you can see from the wall of the living room.
Yeah, it just seems a very odd thing to stick on the front of a house. Just seems very odd to me. I don't know whether anybody else agrees with that. Just seems very strange.
Okay, Councillor Long.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I had difficulty trying to work out exactly how far the proposed space, well, not the space, but the loo and so on stick out. And I worked out that it was about 900 centimetres. This is a semi-detached house, I believe, looking on Google Earth, and the house next door already has just a glazed extended porch area. The other side of these houses are bungalows that don't have this sort of development. I do think it's rather large, and looking at the dimensions on those drawings, couldn't they just move the WC back a bit so that it's more in level as it is at the moment, so it's level with the front of the house? Why it needs to come out another metre, I'm really not sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Currently no one else wishing to speak. On that basis, I would ask if either of Councillor Long or Turner wishes to propose a formal objection or not.
Yeah, I'd be happy to be quite honest.
Okay, so the proposal is from Councillor Long to object. Is that seconded?
I'll second that, Chairman.
Thank you. And then, as that's 3 people, I'm assuming that's general assent.
Yes.
Agreed, Chairman.
Agreed.
Okay, so the objection is specifically on the grounds that it is
the visual impact of the development.
Members happy with that?
If there's nothing else we can object to it on, then it'll have to be that.
Well, that's what I'm asking. If anyone's got anything they would like to object on.
I just feel it is overdevelopment. It's not just the visual impact, but it is quite large.
Yeah, I would say overdevelopment.
So scale, if we're
Scale, yes.
if it's saying to large scale. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have that, Chair. Thank you.
You gave me the words.
Okay, moving on to the next application before you, and that is reference LU 20220, and this is a request for approval for a change of use at Great Wick House in East Street. Members are probably quite familiar with this development. It has been office space, and they now want to convert it all entirely to dwellings. There's no specific comments on the website as such. Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. The comments that are on the website are quite specific. There is a response from the Environment Agency regarding flood protection there, and the housing team at the District Council also proposed conditions which aim to protect the inhabitants there from the risk of fire. There's a planning statement supporting the request, and you would be looking at additional 2 one-bedroom apartments in the premises there. Open it up to questions, Chair.
Councillor Buckland.
Thank you, Chair. Chairman, I support everything that's, you know, the housing and also the environmental statement. As quite rightly stated by the Deputy Town Clerk, it has been used for offices before. However, there are, if I'm right in remembering and seeing, I do believe there are already flats within that premises already. So the fact that it's going from office space back, or, you know, office space to dwelling, as long as it's done within the boundaries that it's being given and set out by the Environmental Agency and also by housing. I don't have an issue with this. I don't have any objection against it, because obviously we know that housing supply, and especially around the town centre area, is of a commodity, low commodity to high, whichever way you want to look at it. But this would be more than likely quality housing again, and that for the area. So for me, I don't have an objection to this. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak?
If I may, Chair.
Of course. Councillor Long.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with Ian. There's a first tonight. I think it's a good idea. It's a shame that we're losing office space, but equally it's good that we're getting more central, town central accommodation. I was interested to see that they, in the report that's up there at the moment, that there wouldn't be a lot of noise for them. Well, that kind of depends what happens across the road at some point. But there we are. I think it's quite a nice idea, and I think that, as Councillor Buckland said, that they will be good quality, and the parking issues shouldn't be too bad. They are within walking distance, obviously, of a lot of public transport when we can all use that again. So I don't think that will be a problem either. So I'm quite happy with this one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with both my colleagues, but can we put the conditions the same as ADC? That we approve it subject to the same conditions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm sensing the general assent is that no objection and that we agree with the suggested
Conditions.
conditions.
Yeah.
Is that acceptable?
Correct.
I agree.
Thank you.
Happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The next one on the list for members is a reference LU 19520PL, and this relates to premises at 12 Wick Farm Road, and this is to create a single-storey flatlet dwelling on a vacant piece of land. There are comments from the Highways Authority. There's no specific parking provision, but it's not considered to be an issue given the location, which is considered sustainable, and the development proposed appears to be within the space standards. Over to members, Chair.
Thank you. Views welcome on the flatlet. No views forthcoming. Oh, no, Councillor Long.
Waiting to go live. Thank you, Chair. Flatlet, that's a new one on me. Studio flat, perhaps. But they say that the 41 metre squares, that's within or meets the required space allowance.
It does, yeah.
It does, okay.
It's 39 square metres, so they're just over.
Okay, they've got the additional 2 in there. I don't know. I don't see any reasons to object to it. It's just making this flatlet on the available ground that belongs to the house, maybe for a teenager or a grandma, who knows. But yeah, it's different, but why not? It gives them that additional space for a family member or whoever. So I can't see any reason to object. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please, Chair.
Councillor Buckland.
Thank you, Chairman. Guess what? I'm going to agree with Councillor Long. It's been an interesting evening tonight, Chairman. I totally agree, because at the end of the day, we all know that the way that the current situation is out there, that a lot of mums and dads, and I think we've been through this many times before, that as long as the development, you know, or the proposed development is good or okay, then we're more than likely to agree to, you know, approve or, you know, support it, because the cost of housing out there now for the individual person is above and beyond. And if they can support a family member by doing such a thing, then let's go with it, as long as it's a sensible development, which this looks like. So totally in support, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if no one else wishes to speak, I will put no objection as the general assent to the committee.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed, Chairman. Thank you.
Yes,
Wonderful.
agreed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. That's noted. Moving on to the last application on list 32, which is reference LU20520. And this relates to Seagull House, which is the ground floor at 45 Pier Road, Littlehampton. Members who have been councillors for some time might remember seeing this premises come backwards and forwards in various guises. And the proposal now is to change the use back to an entire residential dwelling. Open it up to members for questions.
Okay. Councillor Buckland.
Chairman, can we go back to the facial part of the premises, please? Just, this is going to sound really silly. I totally support it being taken back to a dwelling. Happy with that. However, is that chimney pot as big as what it looks like, or is that an added something or the other to the premises? Because I don't remember seeing a chimney pot along that side of the River Road that big before. Just a thought there. But overall, Chairman, happy to support the you know, the change of use, if you want to put it that, and that taking it back to a dwelling. More than happy. Again, it's beneficial to the area, as we all know, and at least it won't become, well, as it's not looking anyway, an HMO at this present moment in time. So more than happy to support this. At least it's actually taking something of a standard on, and it'll be a quality, or should be a quality home for people to live in. So supportive in that fact, but I'm just concerned about the said chimney pot or whatever it is that's standing out the back. I don't ever remember seeing one so big in River Road, Pier Road, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Long.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I support this one as well. It's sad that we've lost the tea rooms. I know that was a long time ago, but I'm sure it will be a very nice conversion of the ground floor. Very central, obviously, by the river, close to a lot of amenities, and it's a sizable property. I must admit, I hadn't realised just how sizable, but it will be a very nice residential dwelling. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no one else, so I will put no objection to the general assent of the meeting.
Please, Chairman.
Agreed.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. That's no objection noted on that application. The supplementary list number 33 has one planning application on it. This is reference LU 21420 PL, which relates to the empty supermarket premises on Avon Road. Members will recall the previous planning application that was made on that particular site, which was refused by the District Council, and that refusal subsequently upheld. The thrust of the grounds for refusal related to the overall scale of the development and its impact on the character of the neighbouring conservation area. Previously, when the committee looked at this, we had objections on similar grounds, including reduction in terms of retail provision, the impact on the loss of town centre parking, and indeed inadequate parking on the previous development, the overall overbearing nature of the design, and the lack of family properties included in the previous design, which members considered was a lost opportunity as much as anything else. Emily's showing the plans of the new proposed development, but in terms of summary, I've got a quick shopping list for members to note. First of all, there is a reduction in the number of residential flats proposed in the new development, which is down from 83 originally, now down to 50. And that is a mix of 1, 2 and 3 bedroom flats. The previous buildings have now been split, so you've got 3 blocks of development, and Emily's just showing you the summary of the screen there. Car parking has been reduced in line with the reduction in residential, and that now equates to 25 parking spaces, which includes 2 for residents with disabilities. There's also provision in there for electric vehicle charging. The majority of the dwellings have good aspects, and there is more open space there. The buildings have been lowered so that they are less impactful on the surrounding street scene, and also there are plans to retain a flint wall that's in there as well, and indeed expand on that to give the development a better feel in terms of its fit with the current environment. The new development also includes provision of 30% affordable housing, and they can be flexible in terms of their tenure. That's a brief summary, Chair. Over to members for their comments, please.
Thank you. That was a helpful summary, actually. So I will open it up to debate. No one is indicating. I would be surprised. There we go. Councillor Turner.
I think we were all waiting for somebody else to comment. So thank you, Chair. To be honest, I'm horrified that this has come back to us, because I can't see that this is much of an improvement on the previous one. I don't like it at all. I think it's horribly crowded. That's not enough parking spaces. They may have reduced it because they've reduced the number of apartments, but it's still totally insufficient. And to have not provided any parking facilities for any retail is ludicrous. I'm totally against this, but I don't know. I have to be guided on what I could, what the circumstances are that I could be object to it for.
Thank you, Councillor Buckland. Sorry, Councillor Buckland and Councillor Long. You typed at the same time.
Am I going first, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. Yeah. Monstrosity. I'm sorry to say. It's going to be a complete and utter white elephant. Going to stick out like a sore thumb. I really, you know, I totally concur with Councillor Turner. I'm surprised this has actually come back, even though, you know, I mean, questions have to be asked. All in fairness, Chairman, of, you know, if they can drop from 83 premises down to 50, how much money this company or whoever the developers are were going to make from it by squeezing in so many and then coming back to us with new plans. The lack of parking, I think it's going to be overbearing. The lack of parking, it's just a wrong premises in the wrong place of town. It's just not going to fit in. It is okay. We have struggled. The questions have to be asked. Has it actually been properly marketed for the actual retail? We know what business left it, and the business was actually doing very well that left and went elsewhere, and now are not doing as well. But hey, so lovely, we weren't in control of that. This development is just too close to the conservation area, overdevelopment, not enough parking, and like I said, I think questions have to be asked. That if they can come along and sort of like turn around and minus themselves from 83 to 50, then fine. Now, we're taking in consideration that it's only just up the road from the Gratwick, then why, if there isn't, is there an EA report, Environmental Agency report, on the issues about flooding for this area too? Even though I will say it's uphill slightly. So, you know, I'm sorry, Chairman, but no, I can't accept this application. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Long.
Thank you, Chair. I have to agree with my colleagues. It just seems a very strange sort of development to put in that location, so close to the town centre, but without any acknowledgement of the fact that it's in the middle of a shopping area. Yeah, the parking spaces do not seem sufficient, not with that number of flats. And the sizes of them, and I don't know what impact all of that is going to have on access in what is already very busy roads in that area. Yeah, not sure they've got it right yet. Good try, but I'm still not convinced. Thank you.
Thank you, and then Councillor Chase.
Yeah, I think everyone's really actually covered my thoughts and views on it. Yeah, it's a massive swing and changed, but changed in the correct way. No, I feel it is an overdevelopment in a very sensitive area, and it's a no from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I don't feel I need to ask whether it's a general assent of objection. So we will now go to reasons for objecting. So if the committee's happy, if I go through why we objected last time, and if I just ask if this is something you would like to be included again. So the first reason for the previous refusal was excessive scale and mass, contrary to DSP1 and DDM1. So the committee wished to object on those grounds.
Yes.
Agreed.
There was also an objection on the heritage elements, so the heritage policies of the local plan, in that it was overbearing and was not sympathetic to the listed building and the conservation area. Is that still the case?
Agreed.
Agreed, Chairman.
Yes,
Thank you.
agreed.
And then also there's been raised tonight, which I don't know if we did comment on, is the parking, which would be policy TDM2 relating to the loss of town centre parking. Is that wish to be included?
Agreed, Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that was part of a previous objection as well, Chair. So that's
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, so there's those three, so excessive scale and mass, and the character and out of character and overdevelopment, the relationship and impact on heritage, and the loss of town centre parking and the lack of adequate parking for the new properties. Are there any other objections that members wish to include in our representation?
There was the lack of parking for the retail element that they were talking about as well. There wasn't any provision at all.
Yeah, so that we'll troll that into the parking policy as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And how much detail have they put in there about management of the site while the A, demolition happens, and B, the construction happens, in terms of the large vehicles that will be in and out heaven knows how many times?
None as yet, Chair, but I suspect that would be
Sorry.
subject to a condition and a construction management plan.
I
Okay.
would certainly hope so.
Okay, so we can put that in, that we would like, if approved, a construction management plan to be submitted before proceeding.
Yeah, Chairman, do you mind?
No, of course.
Thank you.
Councillor Buckland.
Thank you. Oh, I better put my vid on. Right. In reference to supporting Councillor Long's opinion on the vehicle movements, I think we also need to take into consideration that obviously in that area we have Anchor Springs, where obviously the buses are at the moment now. So at the end of the day, how much, you know, if this should ever happen, a development should take place, is it going to be that the bus station, if you want to call it that, is that going to have to be moved elsewhere because of obviously of the construction work that might be taking place, and obviously people standing as is at the moment, standing very close to the building when they're waiting for a bus, etc. So I think we need to take it, you know, things need to be taken into consideration, that Anchor Springs and that area along that Waitrose building is the main route and the bus stop for the current buses. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Have you got everything you need, Juliet, in terms of?
Yes, I have. I can't see any specific reference to the current public transport arrangements, so we can add that as well in terms of a concern, Chair.
Yeah, perfect. Is everyone happy and agreed with all of what's been said?
Yes.
Yes, I think we've covered everything.
Agreed.
Agreed, Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. Those objections are noted.
Thank you very much. And I believe that concludes the planning applications. So we
It
will move
does.
on to item 8.2, which is consultation on proposals for the reform of the planning system in England. And I will hand over to
I won't even attempt to try and explain, Chair. This is a new consultation that's come out promising reforms of the planning system in England. It's at the start of the process, so there's a significant amount to wade through. This is just to give members the opportunity to be aware that this consultation is out there, and to keep an eye on updates. We will endeavour to bring forward a detailed summary and a draft response for the committee to have a look at, but we're not proposing to do that until the 12th of October. That would give us sufficient time to investigate it and for members to do some research if they wish and respond within the deadline for this consultation, which is the 29th of October.
Perfect. So we will revisit that in October. And then item 9 is transportation and other West Sussex County Council matters.
There are none, Chair.
Lovely. And then item 10 is master plan North Littlehampton.
Nothing specific to report, Chair. Work continues apace on the Fitzallen Link Road and the southern section of the Lyminster bypass. We are expecting further detailed applications for the main infrastructure around the Central Spine Road and the wetland area during the course of autumn this year.
Thank you. And then item 11, exempt business. There is none. So I will close the meeting formally at 12 minutes past 8. And thank you to the staff for their support in running the meeting, and to members of the public and the press, if there are any, for watching.
Thank you, Chairman.
Good night.
Thank you.